good time tonight? Woo. I hope so. Hey, if this is your first time at A Married Life Live, we just have to say thank you so much for joining us. We really love to have fun here. If you came not sure what to expect on a date night at a church, we're going to have a great time. And then here in a minute, Jonathan and Wendy are going to be out. They've got a great message for you. Tonight, we're talking all about conflict. And so here's what I do need. We need two couples for some big prizes to come up to play head-to-head. So what I'm looking for anybody in the room been married 7 years or less, okay? We're going to put you in the newlywed category. Right there, yes. Go ahead and send them up. This is you guys volunteered them for the first game, right? Yes, that's perfect. Give it up for them. They're going to be our newlyweds. That's perfect. We need someone in the room that's been married 7 years or more, okay? You've been married for a little while. Right there in the blue shirt, I see you. Come on up. Give them a big round of applause. They're going to make their way up here. And they're going to compete head-to-head in a fun game. This is called the Marriage Marathon. This is a relay that's going to use both the husband and the wife working together, putting aside the conflict to take down the other team. So let's come on over here. We got our newlyweds. This is awesome. What are your guys' names?
Maria.
Maria. Everybody say hi, Maria. And then what's your name?
Colin.
Maria and Colin, how long have you guys been married?
6 years.
6 years. That is phenomenal. This month as well. Wow, that is awesome. October 7th.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
2017.
2017. He can do math, okay? That's fantastic. Come on over here, guys. We'll get to meet our oldlyweds. This is our newlyweds. What's your name?
Jared.
Jared and?
Sarah.
Jared and Sarah. My wife's name is Sarah, so that should be easy to remember. Jared and Sarah, how long have you guys been married?
14 years.
14 years. Give it up for Jared and Sarah. All right, this is the way the game is going to work, okay? We're going to have each of you compete head-to-head against the other team. So we're going to have the husbands compete, we're going to have the wives compete, and then you're going to come together on the last challenge, okay? So we're going to start with the husbands. If you guys would step up here, this is very simple. We're using some hardware. We'll get real close with our camera so everybody in the audience can see. All you have to do is stack these nuts one on top of each other without them falling over, okay? If they fall over flat like that, you can set them back up, obviously. The trick here is you have to stack them using this, okay? And I should mention this as well. This needs to be in your mouth, okay? All right, so you'll do great, and you'll look wonderful while doing it. Don't worry, those are the same sticks we used last night. No, I'm just kidding. We just turn them in for in. That's what we do. No, okay. We got new ones just for you. So you guys are going to do that. Once your husband gets done doing that, wives, you'll compete in your challenge. If you want to step right over here, wives, I'm going to have you come right up to this stool. Each of you get one stool. One at a time, you are going to pull each Kleenex out of the box, okay? You can't do what the guys would do, which is just reach in there and yank the whole thing out, okay? That doesn't count. I'll come over here and do yours so it's fair, okay? All right, you have the same amount. You just got to, with one hand, get them out as fast as possible. One hand, the other one, if you need to hold it down, you can. But one hand, you got to get it out there as fast as possible, okay? Now, once you get done with that, there is one last challenge, okay? And this one, you guys get to work together. So wives, for the last challenge, you'll stand here on this green line if you want to go ahead and do that for me. Husbands, you can set those sticks down for a second. You'll be standing here for the last challenge. And Jared, I don't know if you're familiar with the great poet Beatrice Once. Have you heard of her? She goes Beyonce is short. Yeah. She once said, if you like it, then you need to put a ring on it. So we're going to have you compete in an actual ring toss, okay? I knocked my glasses off. Okay, don't do that to your wife, please. Okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna take this ring and you're going to toss it over your wife, okay? Now, because we want it to be fair, go ahead, Ray, bring those out. You're gonna have to make 3 rings, okay? So again, just to go over this all together, first the husbands compete. They have to stack the nuts. Wives, you have to empty the Kleenex boxes. Once you've emptied the Kleenex boxes, come line up on the green lines, stay on your side. You will take this. Wives, you can put your hands up, you can duck. You just can't step over the line. They're gonna try to throw this. You can practice if you'd like. If you wanna take a practice throw, you can practice if you like. You just gotta throw it over just like that. See, perfect, look at that, okay? Amazing. Okay, does that make sense? So, got to get 3 of them. First team to work together. You got it? There you go. You could also step over. Yeah, okay, all right. Okay. You're the first team to get all 3 rings over their spouse wins the game. Let's hear it for the newlyweds and the oldyweds. All right, we're going to start with our guys. If you want to get ready, 6 at the ready, 3, 2. Remember, don't start until they have finished their challenge, okay? But ladies, if you want to step up to the stools, you can. 3, 2, 1. Make some noise. Cheer them on, people. We got the newlyweds. Jared's going at strong and steady for the oldyweds. 14 years. He's doing great. Get ready, Sarah. Don't knock it over, Jared. He's got it. Go, 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 go. It's anybody's game until the ring toss is at hand. There you go. Careful now. There we go. Let's start. Oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Get ready, Jared. Get ready, Jared. She's going at it. She's going hard. You can put those up. Make some noise. Oldyweds are coming in for the win here. How many Kleenexes are in there? There you go. He's got it. Keep going. Can we get 3 on the oldyweds? Oh, we got to do a better throw than that, Jared. I've seen how Jared throws. You got plenty of time, okay? All right. There's 1. There's 1. There's 1. There's 1. Get the second one. Get the second one. Oh, we got 2 left. Come on. Come on. Come on. That's good. Go, go, go. That's good. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. That's good. We're going to count it. All right, that's the second. You got to get 1 more. You got to pull. There you go. There, okay, that's 1 at a time. And we got a winner. Way to go. Good job. Way to go. Give it up for these guys. It's so much harder than it looks. Now, here's your consolation prize. You got a coffee card, a book Jonathan wrote. And just because you did such a great job, I also have this box of Kleenex for you. I'm just kidding. Yes, she needs. Okay, good job. Give it up for our newlyweds. They did great. Hey, way to go. Slow and steady wins the race. Good job. You guys get a whole gift package there. One more time. Give it up for these guys. Thank you. You can have a seat. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thanks for having some fun. Well, we're going to have a great time. If you guys can make some noise for Jonathan and Wendy, they're going to come out for an awesome giveaway.
All right. Well, hey, you guys, it is so good to see you all out on this fine fall night that really feels like summertime.
Yes, absolutely. And this is so important to us. We love doing these events. And it's once a quarter. If this is your first time to be here, we do this once a quarter. We always focus on one big idea that can help your marriage. And we're so glad that you're here. And we're just going to kick things off on the welcome by giving away like a massive prize.
Yeah, by doing a really big giveaway. So in case you don't know, this is our last Married Life Live of 2023. So we're kind of sad about that, but we will be ramping up for our next one in January.
And last year, we're going to talk for a minute about the marriage retreat here in just a second. Last year, this was the last Married Life Live before we sold out for the retreat because we sold out in December. And so the October Married Life Live was the last one where there were any slots left. And we are in the same situation. It looks very much like the retreat will be sold out before the next time we meet for Married Life Live.
Yep, we're at 80 spots sold right now out of 110. So if you have your spot, yay for you, good job. We're so excited about the upcoming marriage retreat. Do you want to talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yeah, so just in case you haven't been to the marriage retreat, just a quick rundown of what it's like. So we go to Kansas City, and we stay in a nice hotel in Kansas City. This year we'll be back at the Westin in Crown Center.
And different room in case you went last year.
Different meeting space. Yeah, if you went last year, we didn't realize we were gonna have so many people and it was really packed. We have a much bigger meeting space this year. It's gonna be great. Anyway, we stay at a nice hotel. You get there on Friday, plenty of time to get there, hopefully after work, because we don't kick things off till about 7 o'clock. And we have an opening session, and then after the opening session, we have a dessert mixer, which is a lot of fun. We break out board games, and we always say, hey, go find somebody who knows how to play a game you know how to play. And it's an opportunity to meet other new springers that you might not otherwise meet. And we have a blast. We usually are trying to chase people out at the end of the night because it's like, all right, they got to come in and clean up the room. And then Saturday, we have sessions with the speakers. Yep, until about 3:30 or 4, which is when we send you out for date night. tons of stuff to do in that Kansas City area. And so a lot that you can go do for date night. And then on Sunday morning, we get together and watch the service from New Spring. And then you check out and go home. So it's a couple of really great days. You're there at the hotel for 2 nights together, enjoying a lot of great content. This year, a really good friend of mine, Josh Tice, is going to be one of our special speakers. Josh and his wife Heather. Yep. Josh was my prayer group leader in college when back in 2000, actually
a long time ago.
2000, 2001. So I can't wait. Josh pastors a fabulous church in Las Vegas, and he's excited. He and Heather are excited to be with us. All that to say, we want to show you a little video, let you see what the marriage retreat was like last year, and then Wendy wants to tell you about this.
Well, I just want to say the reason we want to show this video about last year is because we're actually giving away a retreat registration at 50% off, which is over a $300 value. So, take a look at this.
Yep. There is such a thing as a divine appointment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I truly believe that God has you here for a reason. And I would invite you to come to all the sessions because you might be surprised. It might be the session that you don't even necessarily think is going to really apply to you that much, that you might come to and just go, man, that was the one for us. That something got said that was just, it totally turned on a light bulb for us.
Kids cannot be the center of your marriage. God has to be the center, and everything has to surround them. Is it tough? Does it take adjusting your calendar and doing the things? Is it work? Absolutely. But you will be thankful when your kids get 18 and they're making their own decisions, that they reflect back what mom and dad did for them growing up.
God only holds you responsible for you in this conflict. God does not hold you responsible for your spouse. So what God is saying is, if it is in your power to bring peace, if that's possible, and it's to the extent that it depends on you, God is saying, I'm asking you in that situation to try.
You'll go through the winters, the springs, the summers, the falls, the autumns of life. Always remember this, hold tight to your commitment and hold your assumptions loosely because those assumptions are going to change. But the things that are really important, things that really matter, they stay the same. And it's out of holding on to that commitment that will build your marriage.
Well, it really is a fun time when we go, so we hope that if you want to attend, we hope you're able to. So you got your little red tickets when you came in tonight, so grab those out, because in just a second, Jonathan's gonna dip in here and find a ticket to call out.
Yeah, and if you already are registered for the retreat, then this voucher can count against your the cost of attending the registration fee.
Yep, we'll give you a discount code. Also, if you're just like, you know what, I can't make it. Got plans, cousin Susie's getting married, can't be there. That's okay, you have a choice. You can also choose the $100 gift card to the New Spring store. So either way, tonight, somebody's gonna be a winner.
Okay, all right.
Drum roll, please.
I know, right? Drum roll. It's very dead in
I know
here.
you can do it for Mark. Can you do it for me?
Okay. All right, here's the number I've got.
Yes.
It's 212-0853.
Oh, lots of O's.
212-0853.
Somebody has to have it. Look now.
Somebody's like, pick a next ticket.
Okay, you got 10 seconds. You want to say it one more time?
Yeah, one more time. 212-0853.
Going.
Going once, going twice.
Going. Gone. All right.
Okay, all right.
If you're in the bathroom, I'm sorry.
All right. 212-1194. I heard something. There you go.
Lindsay Jarvis. Woohoo!
Way to go, Jarvises.
All right, Lindsay's gonna head down and get this. And then as she's grabbing this certificate, Miss Jarvis, you may take that to the New Spring Bookstore either way, okay? Sure,
No,
we'll match it.
I trust you, Lindsay. It's
No,
fine.
I don't know. I'm gonna make sure. I'm gonna make sure, Lindsay. I know you. No, I'm kidding.
She's verifying.
I'm verifying. It is right. It is accurate. Band's getting ready to come up tonight. You guys heard Jesse say we're talking about conflict. Another way of looking at this is we're talking about peacemaking, right?
And staying in love.
Staying in love. So let's listen to the band.
Let's stay together. See, I'm so in love with you. Whatever you want to do is alright with me. 'Cause you make me feel so brand new. And I want to spend my life with you. Let me say this since, babe, since we've been together, loving you forever is what I need. So let me be the one you come running to. Say I'll never be untrue. Come on now, yes, let's stay together. Loving you whether times are good or bad, happy or sad. See, whether times are good or bad, happy or sad. Say why, babe? Why some people break up, and turn around and make up? Well, I just can't see. 'Cause you never do that to me, would you, baby? 'Cause being around you is all I see. Say yes, let's stay together. Say loving you whether times are good or bad, happy. Listen to me now. Say yes, let's stay together, baby. Loving you whether times are good or bad, happy or sad. Let's stay together.
I'm serious. It was a huge fight. He was being totally unreasonable, too.
It was all her
his
fault. She totally freaked out because I bought a new TV.
He went and bought a brand new TV. And yeah, I mean, I kind of freaked out a little bit, but I had the right to be upset. Ask anybody. Husbands and wives should talk about big purchases ahead of time.
I mean, ask anybody. If you have to tell your spouse about every dollar you spend, you're married to a control freak.
A narcissist.
What is she, my mom?
What is he? A big giant kid?
Good thing I
I'm
am so understanding.
He came home with that giant screen and said, "Surprise!" Can you imagine? He acted like it was this great gift.
It was totally a gift. I mean, if I had told her about it, then it wouldn't have been a surprise. I was thinking of her. Now she can watch all of her favorite shows.
He just bought it so he could watch sports,
Hallmark movies,
wrestling,
cooking shows,
pro football,
HGTV,
college football,
Emerald Lagasse. Bam.
high school football. And the bottom line is, we can't afford it.
So I told her we can totally afford it, but she doesn't listen.
No, he never listens. I told him over and over.
I told her over and over.
So I said, honey, I really feel like this is a generational issue.
She said, "You're just like your dad." But I tried to shake it off. I even tried to offer to sweep the floor.
He asked me for the broom I rode in on. I told him that his boyish irresponsibility is what was making me upset.
She said if I didn't stop acting like a spoiled kid, she would send me off to summer camp. So I decided that I would take a short break just to think about things.
It was like 3 days before he said another word to me. So I decided to send him some gentle signals, just letting him know that I was feeling a little disconnected from him.
She threw my stuff out on the lawn. But in the end, I decided to be the bigger person.
I decided to be the mature one then. And I'm the one that ended the fight.
I put an end to the whole thing. I returned the TV.
He returned the TV.
So as usual, she won.
As usual, he's sulking. So I'm thinking makeup sex is not in our future.
Yeah, I'm thinking makeup sex is not in our future.
Anyway, all that to say, the reason I'm calling is little Timmy won't be at school today. He's not feeling well.
So anyway, what did you need? Oh, I didn't even know my car had an extended warranty on it.
Hey, didn't Brian and Sammy do a great job on that video? They nailed that. And it is the one funny fight story you're going to hear tonight. Because when we were getting ready to do this talk on conflict, we looked at each other and we're like, what funny stories do we have about fights that we used to have? And yeah, there aren't any. They're not funny because I don't know if you would identify with this, but if you think about the real fights you've had in your marriage, the truth is they don't tend to be funny. They tend to be maybe sometimes some of the hardest things that you go through in your relationship.
Yeah, they tend to be kind of something you don't want to remember for most of us. If you look back, if you knew us a long time ago,
As newlyweds,
almost 21 years ago, you would have thought we were a great couple. You know, if you had gone to church with us at where we went to church.
And we were a great couple.
Well, I mean,
we still are. We're really good people. So we're good people.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so you got me so off track. Okay, so from the outside, we looked like pretty much we might have had it all together. Okay.
Yeah, and we had a lot of advantages as a couple.
We did. We had parents who are both sets of our parents are still together. We were raised in Christian homes. You know, we both had. Well, you had a good job. I mean, lots. You know. And
that we did not have a lot of things that we've learned over the years. We've seen over the years in our counseling ministry, couples really struggling with. We didn't have infidelity. Nope. We didn't have abuse. We didn't have addictions. And by the grace of God, those were issues that we didn't deal with.
Yeah, by the grace of God.
So you would think, based off of that resume, we'd be doing fantastic.
Yeah, the conflict wouldn't be an issue for us, but it definitely.
I think a lot of people that knew us didn't think we had problems, but we had big problems from about 2003 to about 2006. I think there was a pretty good chance we wouldn't make it. There were definitely some times where it looked like our marriage wasn't going to make it.
Absolutely. When it was good, the times it was good, it was really good. And maybe you guys can identify with that. Sometimes it was good, maybe for 24 hours, it was really good. But when it was bad, it was really bad. I mean, I remember a time when our oldest was very young and you were working like 60 hours a week at a car dealership. And if we could make it a weekend without fighting,
that was a major accomplishment.
It was rare. It was very rare that happened.
We would high five over that. Hey, we made it a weekend without getting so upset with each other. It's true. It actually is very true. Conflict is, by the way, it's like that. If conflict is sort of your nemesis in your relationship will be like a roller coaster, because when things are going really well, it couldn't be better. Like when things are in a good shape, then you're like, hey, this is the greatest relationship ever. And it can kind of be manic like that 1 minute it's like, this is the greatest relationship ever. And then when you get into a fight, it's like, I can't live in this relationship. This is unlivable. And that's kind of like what it was for us.
Absolutely. So, the biggest battle that we've ever fought in our marriage has been conflict. I mean, some of you guys may fight different battles. And we try to talk about those different things at different married life lives. We talk about finances, we talk about passion, we talk about kids and kindness and all kinds of things. And maybe this isn't your battle tonight that you normally deal with, but something tells me that a lot of people in here do deal with conflict.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It was the highest mountain for us to climb, for sure.
Yep.
And it wasn't something that got solved overnight, although
Nope.
I would say that we did see some major change in our relationship pretty quickly once we employed some of the things we're going to talk to you about tonight. But the other thing that we want you to know is we're not perfect at this.
We still have conflict periodically,
We still do have conflict. I would say that we went from being, and this is, I think, the hope that we want to share with you, is we were what psychologists and statisticians would call a high conflict couple. We were
probably topping the charts.
pegging out the chart on high conflict couple.
couples.
And we would now be what they would classify as a very low conflict couple. So we've gone from one side of the scale to kind of the other side. And so we want you to know, if you are a high conflict couple, that doesn't mean that has to define you. You don't have to stay that way. It can actually change. And we've experienced that change. And we want to share a little bit with you tonight about what happened in our relationship that helped us experience that turnaround.
Yes, and while we ultimately give God the glory for allowing this to be kind of the path we're on, we each had to make some different choices in our life in order to kind of get some freedom from that conflict as well. And he helped us with those choices, right?
Absolutely.
All right, well, the first thing you need to do if you want to try to kind of get freedom from conflict, whether it's with your spouse or with a kid even, anybody really, is you need to normalize the complexity of it.
Yeah, marriage is complex. It's complicated, and embracing that is very helpful. One of the things that we tell our pre-married couples, and if you've been to these events, we say that, we've said this before, that when we meet with pre-marrieds, we ask them, what's the most difficult thing about marriage going to be? What do you think it is? And we get all kinds of answers, from conflict to dealing with kids to all those different things. And we always tell them, actually, the hardest part of being married is that you don't get to be single anymore. Because when you're single, there is actually a little bit more simplicity to life. You have your own goals and your own fears, and you triangulate your own solution. This is what I'm going to do. But once you're married, you're in a three-legged race now. And the two of you have got to negotiate a path together. That means that both of us have our own fears and our own goals and our own feelings. And what will happen if we don't embrace this complexity is we'll still try to live like we're single. We'll each come up with our own solution. And guess what? They won't match. And so the complexity is recognizing that we've got to deal with all of this. We've got to deal with all of our feelings, all of our thoughts about something, and come up with a solution together. And that negotiation process, a lot of you in this room have been married for a lot of years. You can attest to this. That negotiation process, it's complicated.
It's very complicated.
And if you think that it should be simple, and that's kind of a cultural idea. Well, the reason that our marriage is complicated is because something's broken with us. Other people's marriages are simple. Can I just tell you, nobody's marriage is simple. Nobody's is. All of our marriages are complex. And if we can embrace that complexity, then we can actually begin to experience what God has for us.
Yeah, and Paul was actually talking about this in 1 Corinthians 7. It says, but a married man has to think about his earthly responsibilities and how to please his wife. A married woman has to think about her earthly responsibilities and how to please her husband. I am saying this for your benefit, not to place restrictions on you. I want you to do whatever will help you serve the Lord the best with as few distractions as possible.
Yeah, so the church at Corinth was a weird church. They were a church of a bunch of new believers. I have a pastor friend who said, if you can imagine 2 reality shows from MTV getting saved and starting a church, they would have a lot of weird questions. And the weird thing about Corinthians is we only see the answers. And so we can kind of assume what the questions were, but we don't actually have the original question questions that were asked, but it's clear that one of the questions was, hey, if the Lord's coming back, should we stay single? Should we get married? Paul was single, and Paul was saying, and he actually said, we didn't read the entire chapter here, but he was basically saying, if you have the gift of singleness, then be single, because he said it's a less complex life. He said, get married if that's what God has called you to, but know that if you get married, life is going to be more complicated. He said, you're going to have, more responsibilities, and your decisions are going to be more complicated, like whether you should buy a TV or not, right?
Right. And you definitely should talk about that with your spouse before you do that. Okay,
Right.
A side note. So the first thing we want you to
So
do
you're saying
is...
Sammy was right.
I'm saying... Okay, I'm not going there. So the first thing is you need to normalize the complexity that conflict is, and that marriage is, really.
That helped us a lot.
It did. And then secondly, what we did, we didn't know, we didn't call it this back then because we hadn't exactly formulated this, but now we've formulated this idea. So what we actually did in theory was we embraced the law of runners and chasers.
Yeah,
Would you
so-
like to explain?
Yes, if you've been to any of our marriage events over any length of time, this isn't the first time you've heard this theory of mine, but I believe that there are two kinds of people in this world, and they generally marry each other, runners and chasers. And a runner is a person who says, drop it, forget it. Like, those are the motto of the runner is, leave me alone, give me some space, I don't want to talk about it right now, right? And a chaser is a person that is like, don't you walk away from me. We're going to have this conversation. We're going to talk about it now. We're going to deal with it.
A chaser will follow the runner.
A chaser will follow you around the house. They will follow you around the house. And don't think that shutting a door will stop it. Like, so just out of curiosity,
Moving on.
just out of curiosity, how many of you think that you're runners? And how many of you think that you're chasers? Right?
About
It's a pretty
50-50.
even split. You see
Yep.
what I'm saying? It doesn't take long to figure this out. And so we learned that there is a dynamic to this, that if
Yep.
you understand it, it can totally revolutionize conflict in your relationship.
Yeah, so here's what you should know though. The faster a runner runs, the faster a chaser chases. And the faster a chaser chases, the faster a runner runs. Did you get that?
So ultimately, when I would work with couples in the first few years of my work, they would want to know who's right and who's wrong, right? And the chaser wants me to tell the runner that they're wrong, and the runner wants me to tell the chaser that they're wrong. And what's happening is neither person is wrong. Both people are doing what feels to them like the right way to deal with the conflict. A chaser is pushing because for them it feels like fighting this conflict is the thing to do. Like, we should fight this problem. We should
want some
tackle it head on,
resolve.
right? So if you think about the idea of fight or flight, the chaser is the fighter. Let's get in there and let's deal with it. While the runner is kind of the flighter. And it's like, what feels right to me right now is to pull away from this conflict. What feels right to me right now is to withdraw from it. But the problem is, the deepest need of a chaser is to feel valued and to feel like the other person is there and listening. So if connection. So if I'm the runner, I am absolutely pushing back on her need for connection, and I'm basically showing that I devalue her, which to a runner is the most foreign thing in the world. I'm like, I'm asking for space because I don't want to end up insulting you and I don't want this conflict to go sideways. But what I'm actually doing is proving to her that she's not valuable to me, or at least that's the message that she's going to hear, right? And on the other hand, a chaser is like, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm getting in there and I'm dealing with this conflict. But to a runner, it feels like I'm trapped, I'm being hemmed in, I'm being controlled. And so the more each of us does what feels natural to us, not that it either is wrong, but the more that we're doing those things that feel natural, the more we're actually causing the other person to do the thing that is triggering us. So it becomes a vicious cycle.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So here's the deal. A couple things. A runner, if you're a runner, you
like
need
me, I'm an
to,
Olympic runner. I should get a medal for how good a runner I am, right?
We used to be really good at running and chasing. We've gotten a
Absolutely.
lot better at both. But
Yes.
if you're a runner and you live with a chaser, runners, you might need to reassure your chaser that that person matters. They matter to you. You love them, okay?
And if you've had conversations about this, you know this is a thing, because they'll tell you the fact that you're pulling away from me makes it feel to me like, they'll say something like, you're disrespecting me by pulling away, or you're showing that you don't love me, or you're making me feel like I don't matter to you. And you're hearing that script because what's happening for them in their mindset is, by you pulling away, you're showing that I'm not important to you. And so reassuring them you matter and what you're feeling matters to me, even if I need a little space right now, you matter to me, is a very helpful way to kind of calm that down a little bit.
Yeah, another thing you can say, runner, is it's okay. we're gonna talk about this, I just need a few minutes, or I need an hour, or I need till tonight at midnight, okay? It's okay to say to that chaser, you know what, I just need a little time and space. We're gonna come back to this.
And a quick time out on this. We have a resource for you out there at the guest services table, or what is that we call it? The info center table is out there. Because, and I'll tell you why I want to mention this here in just a second, but one of the things we learned is these little pieces of advice we're giving you. Here's what you can say when your spouse is chasing you and you're a runner. Here's what you can say when your spouse is running away from you. We've learned that when it's happening, you won't remember what we're saying. You're gonna be really upset. So it's very difficult to remember that. So what we did is we printed it on little plastic cards.
You have these little like credit card things,
So I have a little plastic card that says how to talk to your runner, and I have a little plastic card that says how to talk to your chaser. And there's a ton of them out there, and you can take one on your way home, put it in your wallet, keep it, and remember it, be very helpful for you when this happens. But one of the things that I did as I was researching to put those cards together is I tried to find out, what is the time frame? How long can I push a runner and say, I need time, and versus also—
You mean push a chaser?
That's what I meant. Yeah. How far can I push a chaser? How much time will a chaser give you? And how much time will a runner be like, all right, okay, I'll come back and talk to it in that time frame? And here's what we found out from intake forms, is it's about a day. About a day is as much as you can push the timeline. So on those little cards, one of the things that you'll see when it says talking to your chaser, you say to them, I need some time and space, but we will talk about this today. Just as the card that says talking about your runner says, I can give you some time to process this, but I need to talk to you about this today. Because we learned that was where we could get the schedules converging. We could get them. So part of this, runners, it's on you, because I'm a huge runner, and I know that I really want to drop it. And the truth is, if I'm being honest with you, I don't ever want to talk about it ever again.
I was gonna say, I do remember a few early fights where I'm like, okay, are we getting an hour?
I don't ever want to
2
talk
hours?
about this, right?
No, I'm not talking about it.
Right? So there has to be a sort of internal commitment that if I'm going to ask for space, I'm also going to do the honorable thing, and we are going to talk about this, and we are going to deal with it when the time.
Yeah,
is
and
there.
chasers, your thing, the thing for your runner, try to let them find some calm for them. I mean, as a chaser, I would need to try to find some calm for myself. Let me say it that way. I need to give Jonathan space.
Because I know you're going to be shocked at this. This is going to blow you away. But if you're a chaser, you might accidentally lose track of your tone of voice and body language. It might happen. I'm not saying that it will, but it could. It could happen that you might accidentally, in the process of chasing, you might lose track of your volume, you might lose track of the way you're coming across, right? So
You speak as if you've experienced this before.
No, this is just from counseling experience. It's not personal.
Okay. Whatever.
Not at all.
Whatever.
But part of this is being able to kind of self-soothe and calm a little bit, because—
Calm, and then be able to say, look, I do need to talk about this. Can we talk about this later tonight or later today?
Right. So you'd be surprised. That one little tweak, and those cards, they're out there for you. They're free. Just take them with you. There's one for each of you. I think you'll find that can make a huge difference. It did for us.
Yep. All right, number 3, since we're moving right along, we had to break some bad habits.
Yeah, communication is a matter of habit. The way that we communicate, and honestly, if you think about it, conflict is really a matter of habit. Because if you look back at your last several conflicts, the truth is they probably all followed a very similar script. We get used to kind of doing things the same way. And into those scripts, there can be some little things that sneak in that can be really problematic. Dr. John Gottman, who you've heard us talk about before, Dr. Gottman is a famous long-term researcher in the field of marriage, probably the most famous marriage researcher ever. And through his research, he was able to develop a regression model where he was able to predict with 94% accuracy which couples in his study would be divorced and which ones would not. He says they don't get invited out to dinner very much. Now the people they just don't want to know. I don't want to know which group I'm in. But what he found was he could predict that with 94% accuracy from the way they fought. As a matter of fact, one of his students can predict it at that level by watching 15 minutes of a fight between a couple, and they're looking for 4 things, and we want to talk to you briefly about what they are. Dr. Gottman calls them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah,
right?
Kind of appropriate, since
Yes.
we just went Clash of Dynasties
usher in
last
doom
week.
for the relationship, right?
All right, let's go through these quickly. The first one is criticism, and criticism is simply defined as thinking the person is globally defective. Like, the problem is not what they do, the problem is them. They are a drama queen, they are a jerk, they are lazy. the criticism is not like, hey, they can change this. It's like, I'm labeling you, like I'm labeling that person's soul. You are this way.
Right. So I'm saying the problem is not what happened. The problem is your makeup. This is how you are as a person. So you're always late. You're never, you're never kind to other people. Or mind reading is criticism. I know what you're thinking. I know nobody in this room has ever said that before, but I know what you're thinking. I know why you're doing this, right? That's actually a criticism, because I'm actually acting as though there's a defect with them that causes them to think and act the way that they do, which, by the way, we all do have a defect. It's called the sin nature. The problem is God never called me to diagnose the sin nature in my spouse. Make sense? So when I do that, right, I'm going to create an issue. And one of my favorite illustrations for this, Dr. Gottman in his seminar says that if you were to imagine a conflict as a little game where we're kicking a soccer ball back and forth between each other, and the soccer ball represents the problem, that's a healthy conflict. Each of us is taking a turn at addressing the problem. He said what criticism is when I try to take the soccer ball and shove it inside of you and say, if you want to know where the problem is, it's in you. That's where it's at, right? All name calling is criticism, right? And so it's something that we need to be very careful about. And here's why criticism starts arguments, because it always pretty much starts arguments, is that the other person doesn't believe you.
Yeah.
When you tell them you are globally defective in this way, chances are they don't agree completely with you that they are defective in that way. So when you say you are always late, chances are they can think of at least one time when they weren't late. Right? And or maybe you say, you're always this way to other people, and they're like, give me an example. Has your spouse ever done that? Give me an example. Like, when did that happen, right? And that's why the argument starts, is because it's like, well, you're concluding this is how I am, prove it, right? And that causes an argument, which, by the way, all marital arguments, you can write this down. This may be the most valuable thing I have ever told you in my teaching career at New Spring, and that is that all marital arguments are a waste of time. A complete, total waste of time. Here's what we know from psychology. Once I come to firmly hold a belief, right? There's some beliefs that I hold with an open palm, right? I used to work for Honda. I thought at the time they were the greatest car on the road for the dollar. I guess I still kind of feel that way. I don't know. You could bring me proof that that's not true, and I would entertain that. I have no investment in that. But I also have beliefs that I'm firmly invested in, like my kids are good kids. That is something that I hold very firmly. And what we know from psychology is once I come to firmly hold a belief, I will pay attention to evidence that proves my belief to be correct, and I will ignore or reject or fight against evidence that proves my belief to be incorrect. So what happens when you have two married people who believe very different things about a situation or about character flaw or whatever, and they're just talking very loudly to each other trying to convince the other person they're wrong? Guess how many people are listening?
Yep.
0. You have two people talking very loudly and nobody listening. That's why marital argument is a waste of time, and that's why criticism is a real problem.
Yeah. Well, and criticism often leads to the second of the four horsemen, which is defensiveness. And, this isn't my fault. It's your fault.
Yeah, Dr. Gottman says defensiveness is a refusal to accept responsibility, which is generally followed by a shifting of blame. It's not my fault. And that's what happens. We feel criticized, like they're saying you're always this way, and I want to go, you know why you feel that way? It's because you're so picky. The reason that you feel that way is because you have to be on time to everything, and you don't realize that not everybody's perfect like you, right? And we get into this defensive thing. And one of my favorite things that our friend Les Parrott says is, defensiveness doesn't just become a habit. He says it can become a default posture, where your spouse is like, hey, did you see my keys? And we're like, I didn't touch them, right? Like, everything is like, I'm trying to defend myself, and that can become a marital, just a normal default posture.
Well, and it just creates so much tension that, nobody does well in tension. Okay, third horseman of the apocalypse, and this is a big one. It's contempt. And contempt is just really the idea that you're better than the other person. And when you think back to when he was talking about Dr. Gottman and watching the people in the lab and being able to predict divorce at such a high rate, the number one thing that allowed them to predict divorce accurately was a culture, an atmosphere, a continual vibe of contempt. That's the number one thing that they predicted.
It is just this pervasive attitude that I'm having to put up with somebody who's not nearly as fabulous as I am. Like they're and we start to...
You are fabulous, honey.
Oh, thank you. It's the shirt, really.
Just the way you said it, like as fabulous as I am.
It's looking down at the other person. And by the way, this happens so much with nonverbals. You can express contempt verbally, but so much of this happens with nonverbals, right? Facial expressions, a body posture, just sort of like that. I have
Eye
so
rolls.
had it with you. Like, I have so had it with the way that you are, right? And here's the thing about contempt. Contempt, we have now learned, this is a relatively new finding, but we've learned not only is it bad for marriages, but we've also learned that it's contagious within families, right? And so we've learned that when a parent is contemptuous about the other, often the kids begin to develop the same contempt. So if a wife is contemptuous toward her husband, often the kids will begin to be contemptuous toward him. Or if a husband is contemptuous toward his wife, often the kids will start to be contemptuous toward her. Or if there's a culture of contempt, there just may be an attitude that is pervasive around the house that every person is better than everybody else. I'm so much better than you. But the problem with that is, what that does, that leans into the curse instead of leaning away from it, right? In Ephesians 5, one of the few passages that is written specifically to married couples, it says that we are to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And that really means to value the other person more, to put the other person first. Is it because they are more valuable to God than me? No, it's because the sin nature in me wants to devalue others and value myself. So as a way of realigning myself to reverse the curse, I have to value others more than myself. That's been in Scripture all this time. It took us a couple thousand years to catch up in social science research, but what we're finding out is that this is true, that a culture of elevating the value of the other, that's where healthy families happen.
Yep. And number 4 on that whole list of things from Dr. Gottman is stonewalling. And stonewalling means I refuse. I absolutely will not connect with you.
Yeah, on any level. And when I say on any level, what I mean is, like, even if it's neutral. What Dr. Gottman found in the Love Lab, which is the apartment that he would have couples come into and they would study you, kind of like a bed and breakfast kind of vibe. Like, you'd come in for a day and they would study you like any other bed and breakfast that you would go to, other than they're doing blood draws several times, and there's psychologists and psychiatrists on the other side of
you.
two-way glass watching everything that you do, and everything's being videotaped and coded.
Do we have any volunteers that want to go do
Other than that, just like any other bed and breakfast you would ever go to. But in that, he would watch their behaviors, and he would say that there was something he saw he called them repair attempts, that during the middle of the fight, one of them would say something neutral. So there'd be a big picture window there, and one of them would say, the ships are pretty on the bay, aren't they? Right? And unrelated to the fight, but it's almost like what he called it an attempt to connect. I'm just seeing, is there any chance that we could repair this? Is there
Testing the waters a
testing the
little.
water? And he said that couples that were healthy, there was the ability to accept the repair attempt, and to, even though we may not be feeling really good about things, we could at least kind of engage and
There could be some, the boats
prove
look
to
great.
each other that the lines are still active.
Yep.
But a stonewaller says, I'm going to throw that attempt back in your face, and I'm going to basically prove to you that you cannot reach me under any circumstances for the purpose of punishing you and making you understand what you've done to me, right? And by the way, guys, we know that men are more likely to stonewall. Ladies are a little bit higher on the likelihood for criticism in Dr. Gottman's study, but men specifically struggle with stonewalling, so much so that it even seems to be part of our physiology. We have, guys, you can feel it popping up in your shoulders and your trapezius muscles up here. And it's almost like you can almost become like a stone wall, that sort of, you just see that
hardness.
tension happening,
Yeah,
right?
hardness is
And
there.
so here's the deal. What we do want to make sure that we reassure you, all couples are going to have some of this at some level. So if you're like, oh, well, we've criticized each other before, welcome to the club.
That happens.
We all have. Even
Yes.
healthy couples, even couples in Dr. Gottman's study that were great, had these things. The difference was the couples that were in healthy relationships learned the off-ramps for these things, and the couples that were in unhealthy relationships, these things just ravaged the relationship and took control.
Yeah, so we want to real quickly go over the off-ramps. So when you're dealing with somebody who's criticizing, if you're having criticism issues in your relationship, talk about your situation instead of your feelings.
Talk about your situation and your feelings.
Right. And not, I'm sorry, yes, I said that wrong. And not the conclusions and like the personal defects of the person.
Right.
So, for example, if I'm driving down the road and you reach over and change my radio and I don't like that.
Right,
and
without asking you.
Yeah, without asking me. And I'm hardcore onto my radio station.
It's your radio.
Go K-Love. Unless it's, never mind. Okay. So those of you who
You're gonna
listen
have people
to
come up and ask you afterwards.
No, I will just say, if you listen to K-Love right now, you know what I'm talking about, okay? All right, so I'm listening to the radio on K-Love, and then you change it without asking me, and I'm like, I can't believe you did that. You don't even care about me, okay? That's a criticism, right?
Well, and it's a conclusion, right?
Yeah.
In our culture, we like to say that we feel something, but actually when we're talking about our feelings, we actually hide conclusions in it. I feel like you just don't care about me. Actually, that's a criticism and that's a conclusion. I've concluded you just don't care about me. But once again, from what we were talking about before, there comes an argument, right? Because she's gonna say, I do care about you, and we're gonna get into this whole thing. Versus saying, when, if she were to say, Jonathan, we're driving down the road, you changed the radio station, you don't even say anything to me about it, and so I feel really frustrated, or I feel really hurt, or I feel really sad. What am I going to say? No, I mean, sad would be a lot.
I probably wouldn't feel sad.
Sad would be a lot. That would be far to go with it. But what am I going to say? No, you're not frustrated. It's very hard to argue with somebody's genuine feelings, right? When somebody says, I feel this way. So it's important not to go with the conclusions, and it's important to be situational.
Yeah.
This thing that just happened, and a lot of times with couples, they just don't stay current. So we're not going to talk about the situation that just happened. I'm just going to keep clocking stuff that's happening that makes me draw these conclusions. And then when I get mad enough, I'm going to tell you that this is how you are, right? But then I'm not going to remember any of the things that made me feel that way. So we need to, with criticism, the important thing is keep a current list of accounts, talk about situations, use feelings, not conclusions. That'll help a lot.
Yep. On defensiveness, to get off of that on off-ramp, listen and take responsibility whenever you can.
Defensiveness is all about interrupting. It's very difficult to hear somebody be defensive without hearing them interrupt. So the most basic thing you can do is listen to what they have to say, even if it's uncomfortable because you feel like, I didn't do that, right? Or I'm not that way, but listen to what they have to say, right? As long as they're not being emotionally destructive, if they're telling you this is what my perception of it, listen to it, and then take responsibility for what you can. Not everything that happens in a fight is your fault, but I guarantee you this, if you think nothing that happened was your fault, then you're fooling yourself. And so responsibility, being able to fight back against defensiveness, part of it is saying, I'm gonna take responsibility for my part. Even if I think it was smaller than your part, I'm gonna take responsibility for it.
Yep. On contempt, really remember how God sees you. If we're thinking about how God views us and how much we've done to sin against him, and yet he still loves us and he still gives us grace and mercy, my goodness, when we stop and take a moment to think about that, how can we not offer our spouse some grace?
And think about how God sees your spouse, right? On Wendy's worst day, she is God's daughter, and God values her tremendously. And so if I start looking down my nose at her and saying, I'm so much better than her, not only is there a problem in my relationship with Wendy, there's a problem in my relationship with God. Because I'm now telling God that she's not as valuable as he thinks she is. And guess who knows her actual value? Not me, God does, right?
Yep. On stonewalling, especially guys in this case, but anyone really, be willing to engage. When you refuse to engage, you are automatically gonna make things worse.
Yeah, and I would say this too, that back when I used to talk a lot to couples about this, I would talk to ladies who struggle with criticism about softening the approach. And I can't tell you how many guys would sit there and go, yes, if she would just do that, if she would just soften, everything would be, I love that. Yes, soften, she needs to soften. But guys, often our softening, the softening that needs to happen for us is when it comes to this stonewalling thing. We need to be prepared to soften that hardness that comes from, I don't want to, you've offended me, you've made me so upset, I don't even want to talk to you, I don't even want to have this conversation. Part of softening at that point is saying, no, I'm still going to listen, and I'm still going to talk, I'm still going to engage.
Yeah. All right, we're to our last thing. For you guys to experience some freedom from conflict, you need to change your goal. Maybe you don't even have a goal. Make this goal if you don't yet, to winning together. Because after all, if you're married, you are a team.
Yeah, and Wendy's told me this a lot of times, especially as we were trying to sort of win this battle over conflict. Wendy would say, look, I'm not your enemy here. Like, I'm not playing against you here. We're on the same team. And the scripture says this in Ephesians 6:12. It says, we're not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places. Folks, your spouse is not your enemy. Never, never, never is your spouse your enemy. Your spouse may agitate you. They may kind of frustrate you sometimes. You may struggle sometimes with the way that they handle things because guess what? They're not you, so they're going to handle things differently than you would. But ultimately, you need to understand you do have an enemy. Your marriage does have an enemy. And Satan he's gunning for marriage at a rate that we've never seen in our culture. He's gunning for marriage at a whole other level. And he would love to see, truthfully, he would love to see your marriage fail because you accidentally failed to realize that your spouse isn't the enemy. A big part of conflict is saying, how can we win together? Like, how can we actually experience success? And part of that is what we've talked about over the years with Solution C. When we talk about, hey, if I was single, Solution A, that would be my solution. This is what we should do. And when do you be? Well, if I was single, we'd do Solution B. That's what that would be. But ultimately, God has called us to figure out Solution C. What is it that we can both give a thumbs up to? What is it that we can both take ownership of and say, this is a good answer to the problem. This is a good solution. That we're willing to work out a problem as a team instead of as aggressors going at each other. So I hope this has been helpful for you. This really is a personal journey for us, a huge journey. It took us a lot of time and a lot of tears, really, for both of us. And I'm just a big baby. I'll weep over this stuff like anybody else will. We both went through a lot of emotional distress over conflict in our relationship, and God really helped us work this out. And I hope just us sharing some of our ideas with you will help as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, hey, we're getting ready to have, I think they're actually up here. They're kind of hiding in the dark. New Spring Worship is up here, you guys. And we want to leave on a super fun, upbeat song tonight called Run, Devil, Run. But before we do that, I would love to just say a quick prayer for the group, if that's okay. You guys go ahead and stand up for us. Go ahead and stand up so you'll be ready to, jam with is that even a word still that people use now, jam? All right, let's say a quick prayer. Jonathan, I'm gonna start it and then you can finish real quick. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Dear God, I just thank you so much for each couple in this room. Father, I thank you for their investment in each other and their investment in you by coming tonight. God, if there are couples who are struggling with conflict and it is an issue in their relationship, Father, I pray that you would break those chains. I pray that they would be able to find peace and healthiness and success in you, Father. And God, for those couples who are not struggling with conflict tonight, praise God. And I just pray that maybe something they heard, they'd be able to take and share with someone else and minister to them in their time of need. Lord, we love you and we thank you so much for all you do for us.
Father, I just pray for the couple here that was fighting today. And just bumping up against the same issues and the same struggles they've been bumping up against, and feeling that struggle of why can't we get past this? Father, I just pray that you would come between them, put your arms around each of them, and help them to realize that they can make it through this and they can beat this, and you can help them a step at a time to find peace together as a couple. And we will give you all the credit and the glory for that happening. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, and don't forget on your way out, after the worship team leads us in this song, don't forget to grab those plastic cards on your way out.
All right, take it away, New Spring Worship.
Make the devil wanna run, keep him dancing till the break of dawn. He got something to make, yeah, come on. Well, thanks for being here tonight. Y'all are dismissed.